I've found for the last few years that it's helpful for me before Yizkor begins to share words that others have written about loss. So I want to offer a few reflections on loss that were written a few years ago in The New Yorker by a writer named Catherine Schultz, with a little bit of wisdom from Jewish tradition mixed in. One summer, while living in Portland, Catherine starts inexplicably losing ordinary objects almost every day. Her car keys, her house keys, her wallet, and then her gigantic pickup truck somewhere near Powell's bookstore. She finds it days later on a block so unrelated to any reasonable route from my house to the bookstore that I seriously wondered if I'd driven there in some kind of fugue state. A few years later, Catherine experienced the loss of her beloved father, who had been born in Tel Aviv and relocated to the United States on a refugee visa at the age of 12 and spoke 6 languages. Then she loses another family member to cancer. And then, a few weeks later, her hometown baseball team lost the World Series, which felt far more devastating than it would have otherwise because her father was such a fan. She wonders, why do we use the same word to describe totally trivial but frustrating losses like car keys and sports games, and also use it to describe the final loss of death? With objects, Schultz writes, loss implies the possibility of recovery. In theory, at least, nearly every missing possession can be restored to its owner. That's why the defining emotion of losing things isn't frustration or panic or sadness, but paradoxically, hope. With people, by contrast, loss is not a transitional state, but a terminal one. Death is loss without the possibility of being found. Not knowing what to do with herself, she finds herself going on walks, looking for her dad just like she would look for a missing glove. This is common, she finds out. The psychologist John Bowlby regarded the second stage of grief after numbness as yearning and searching. And she finds that lost is exactly the right description for how she feels about her father since his death. I search for him constantly, but can't find him anywhere. Grieving him is like holding one of those homemade tin can phones with no tin can on the other end of the string. His absence is total. Where there was him, there is nothing. In Jewish tradition, returning lost items to their rightful owners is both a religious duty and an opportunity to transform us as finders. In the rabbinic mind, writes Rabbi Aaron Brousseau, loss doesn't just produce a person who lost something, it affords the finder the opportunity to reimagine themselves as a caretaker and a redeemer. In Bava Metzia, the section of the Talmud describing how we handle lost objects, the rabbis teach that in Jerusalem there was something called the Even HaToen, stone of claiming. This was where anyone who had lost something would go to proclaim their loss, and where anyone who had found something would announce what they had found. Imagine this place. You arrive at this stone empty-handed, grieving, searching, and cautiously hopeful. Or you arrive holding on to what you have found, scanning the eyes of each person in the crowd, trying to find the one who looks as though they match what you are holding. Rabbi Brousseau says, even if you never found the thing you were looking for, even if you never found the owner of the item, you would know there was a place to go to talk about it, that there was a community that cared to listen. And in hearing other people's losses, you would know the most important thing. You are not the only person who lost something. The stone of claiming is a place where you would announce your loss and find comfort. When you lose something, you find community. So many of us have come here to Yizkor with losses, with holes so large where our grandparents, our parents, our siblings, our partners, our children, our friends, and our teachers once were. But we've also come to find memories that have lain dormant for months or even years, to find others in the community who have also experienced loss, so that we know who we can turn to when we're seeking their wisdom or when we're offering our own presence and comfort. So take a moment now, if you're here with us in Zoom, just to look around and see who has come here to this Even HaToen, this stone of claiming. I want to return to Schultz's words once more, and then we'll go into the prayers of Yizkor. It is breathtaking, the extinguishing of consciousness. Yet that loss too, our own ultimate unbeing, is dwarfed by the grander scheme. When we are experiencing it, loss often feels like an anomaly, a disruption in the usual order of things. In fact, though, it is the usual order of things. Entropy, mortality, extinction. The entire plan of the universe consists of losing, and life amounts to a reverse savings account in which we are eventually robbed of everything. Our dreams and plans and jobs and knees and backs and memories, the childhood friend, the husband of 50 years, the father of forever, the keys to the house, the keys to the car, the keys to the kingdom itself. Sooner or later, all of it drifts into the valley of lost things. There's precious little solace for this and zero redress. We will lose everything we love in the end. But why should that matter so much? By definition, we do not live in the end, we live all along the way. The smitten lovers who marvel every day at the miracle of having met each other are right. It is finding that is astonishing. You meet a stranger passing through your town and know within days you will marry her. You lose your job at 55 and shock yourself by finding a new calling 10 years later. You have a thought and find the words. You face a crisis and find your courage. All of this is made more precious, not less, by its impermanence. No matter what goes missing, the wallet or the father, the lessons are the same. Disappearance reminds us to notice, transience to cherish, fragility to defend. Loss is a kind of external conscience, urging us to make better use of our finite days. Our brief crossing is best spent attending to all that we see, honoring what we find noble, denouncing what we cannot abide, recognizing that we are inseparably connected to all of it, including what is not yet upon us, including what is already gone. We are here to keep watch, not to keep.